Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Khalis Mifzal bin Muhammad Kamal. For our assignment 1 is we will discuss about the worry and issue raised by the employers because of the introduction of minimum wages that have been set out by the government. Okay, first of all, I will introduce our group member. My name is Muhammad Khalis Mifzal bin Muhammad Kamal.
My name is Muhammad Bashri bin Bukhari.
My name is Muhammad Faris bin Umar alias.
My name is Wan Ahmad Rifki bin Wan Muhammad Nuri.
Okay, today we will discuss about this assignment 1. First of all, I will go to the executive summary that what we have planned, what we have done, and what we have achieved for this assignment 1. Okay, first of all, this project is that related with the relation between employees, employers, that government also in there. Both employers and employees, but this is more narrow to the employer's scope job specification, which is to obey government rules. So the introduction of minimum wage is what the issue nowadays that worry by the employers. So if the minimum wages is increased, that will bring the harmonious to the employees because the cost of living will lower because they have more money to pay something what they want to buy. The power of purchase, they will also increase because of the introduction of minimum wage. That is why lots of employers, especially small business, cannot afford what the government has set the rules about what they need to pay for the employees, the minimum wages in Malaysia. However, the introduction of minimum wage that's kind make the issue among the employers nowadays. So because of that, majority of the employers raise the issue and worry towards the government because of this introduction of minimum wage. But if we see on the part of the employees, they will happily know about this because of if their minimum wages are increased, they can improve the cost of living. Especially we live in this modernization world, lots of things we need to do is about the money is important. So that is why the employers raise the issue because if the company have more than one company, so they will take more, spend the money towards the employees. So the introduction of the employee raised by the employer because of the introduction of minimum wage is based on what I see on the Industrial Relation Act 1967 is both party has the right and their own privilege. First of all, employers must obey government's order. This is because if they do not obey the government order, they will do the discrimination towards the employees. Secondly, under the Employment Act 1955 is employers must fulfill all the employees' wages based on the contract what they have been signed before this. So the responsible towards the employees is the responsible to the employers. Thirdly, what the government said is about the minimum wage is just to increase the high income between the employees in Malaysia. That is why under the Ministry of Human Resource, they will take action if the employers cannot obey what the government have set the rules about the minimum wage. So because of that, the issue and worry after this we will discuss is, but what I want to say here is the insufficient allocation by the employers make they more to tend to not to agree with the government conclusion or the what government have to tell them. So below we will discuss the issue and worry that employers make because of the government rules, the introduction of wages. Okay, for this point, I will go to the our first presenter, which is Bashri.
Okay, for the first point, firstly, the worries and issue by employer in a relationship to introduction of minimum wage, it could be advantageous for the organization to pay more than the marginal wage product of workers. This notes that higher pay will result in higher productivity if workers are compensated. An employer may faithful and dedicated to the organization with a higher pay. Employees can be frightened by higher pay and therefore work harder to keep their employment, while the company rises the product of workers. The company's low salaries are rises by the minimum wage, which increase the productivity of employees every day. The suggestion is that these employers will increase their productivity combined with a decreased job turnover and increase in training. Next, the new minimum wage increase make it less productive for business to improve their productivity, and treating and increase minimum salary would boost employee pay, thereby helping the empower workers, retaining better employers and improve job. This shift the present poor moral scenario for worker, as which rises will impact on company rates is likely to be marginal. Secondly, the proposed minimum wage will be adversely affect employment as well as employers. Low-skilled employers lower their management wage. This indicates that the level of education of worker is poor and is especially influenced by below the level of technical school. The increase in the minimum wage adversely affect young adult, women, and trained worker. Business with a minimum wage increase will increase their labor costs. Rising employer costs can causes business to reduce working hours or shift from full to part-time, which adversely affect employer salary. About 30% increase in a labor cost is correlated with a 6% drop in employment in development countries such as another country, Colombia. In additional business can respond to rising labor costs by replacing qualified and highly skilled workers. This exacerbates the level of labor poverty. Indeed, some company, especially SMEs, should stop their business because they cannot stand the rising costs. That will be the end of my point. So for the next point, I will be pass to the Faris. Faris.
Okay, thank you for Muhammad Bashri. Okay, thirdly, the worries and issue by the employer is the employer need to revamp the cost structure calculation. Cost structure mean the type and relative proportion of fixed and variable costs incurred by the organization. So, with the introduction of minimum wages, the employee need to think whether to use human-oriented or machine-oriented. This is because the employee must use this oriented which produce the profit or more profit to them. So for example, the production of bread, the employee must buy more machine than employ some worker. If the product cannot give a profit to the employee, it will bring a big problem to employer. This is because the employer need to think how to pay wages to his employees with the minimum wages. An organization also can become bankrupt if they cannot pay the wages. The employee also can do demonstration which can tarnish the image of the organization. So the employer no need to busy to think the payment of wages if having a small number of employee. So the employer must revamp the cost structure calculation to make sure the organization stable in future time. Okay, lastly, for the worries and issue is the injustice in an organization. The employer worry if the introduction of the minimum wages can affect the harmony environment in the workplace, which can make the employment become worse between new employees and old employees. Besides that, the setting of the minimum wages should be balanced with the matter related to one is standard of living and productivity. So before of the introduction of minimum wages, an employee salary increase based on the productivity, innovative feature, creativity, and responsibility of an employee. But with the introduction is feel unfair for new employees on pair with the employees who have long work and experience in the field they work. With this situation, it can make the workplace gloomy if the employees do not together in achieving company objective. Besides that, it also may lower work motivation among employees who have served for a long time because the salary increase is not given according to expertise, but it is according to legal provision. So this will make the employees worry due to this problem. Other than that, the employer might replace the employee who not professional in the organization. This means the old employees that is considered professional will be retained by the employer. For example, Encik Ahmad, he is new employees in the organization, but if he cannot give creativity to the productivity of the organization, he will be terminated by employer to enable the introduction of the minimum wage. So for the conclusion, I will pass to net presenter to tell more about it. Thank you.
In conclusion, there are many worries and issues raised by the employers in relation to the introduction of minimum wages. As we can see, the minimum wages, which is the lowest remuneration that employer must all legally pay their workers for their work. So most of the employer will be see as the disadvantage to them. This is because the employers need to revamp the cost structure calculation which should be used for the maintenance of the machine and improve the product. So there are a few solutions to survive with this problem. First of all, the employer need to minimum their number of employees. This is because when the employer do that, the employee need to do more than one work in their shift. For the example, a cashier in a 7-Eleven need to do more work, not just a cashier like cleaning, maintaining, and stock the item in the shop. So the employer do not need to worry with the introduction of minimum wages. Next, the solution is the employer need to be strict by execute the employee who their performance will drop. This is because by hiring the employee who don't have benefit for the organization will waste the money to pay their salary. So the employer need always monitor their employee to increase the quality of the product. Indirectly, the employee will be more careful with their work and try to not to break the rules. Last but not least, the introduction of the minimum wages the will affect the employment in all country, which is the number of the job vacancy will be decreased. This is because the employers scared to hire the new employee because it will let their money to pay them. Then the unemployment will be increased. This is because especially youth don't have the job even they graduate after school or university. So that's all for our group. Thank you.